I'd like to call this January 5th session of the Holyoke City Council to order. The clerk will call the roll and record those members present.
Bartley?
Here.
Toast. Looks like it's on. Yep.
Clerk will call the roll, please.
Bartley?
Still here.
Bresnahan?
Here.
Shatnoff?
Here.
Graney?
Yes.
Jourdain?
Here.
Leahy?
Present.
LeBron Martinez? Here. Lisi? McGee?
Here.
McGivern?
Here.
Roman?
Here.
Sullivan?
Here.
Tallman?
Here.
Bacon? Here. Valentine? Here.
All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
And the city of Holyoke.
Go ahead.
And the city council.
Get Megan all right there?
Just want to let counselors know, one of our counselors is ill this evening, and she gives her regrets, but Counselor Lisi will not be able to be with us this evening. So I just wanted to pass that on. First item up on the agenda, we have a public, I wanted to also, before I actually go to the public hearing, I also wanted to recognize a moment of silence for two individuals. First of all, the husband of our chairman of the Housing Commission, Maddie Santabria, lost her husband this past week, Cesar Cruz, and otherwise known as Biggie. Great guy, and he's going to be very, very much missed, way gone, way before his time. And I also would like to recognize the other day we lost in a real tragedy one of our teachers from Holyoke High School, Ann Cullen, also gone before her time, and I'd like to have a moment of silence for these two fine individuals. Thank you very much. Our first item up on the agenda is for public hearings. We have item number 1, a petition from Verizon New England. Is there anyone here from Verizon New England? Okay, welcome. Just make sure that microphone's on, sir. Just make sure it's on, yeah. Oh, just one moment. Petition of Verizon New England, Inc. to place one pole on the northerly side of Harvard Street at a point approximately 173 feet easterly from the center line of Pleasant Street. This matter is now before the City Council for our consideration. Notice of this public hearing, as well as notice to the butters, has been provided, and I have a letter here from our former legal counsel for the city, Al Bassett, who now also happens to work for Verizon. And sir, if you could just state your name and where you're from. I'm assuming you're from Verizon.
I am. My name is Paul Davis. I work for a company by the name of UC Synergetic out of Sunderland. We're a contract engineering company doing engineering work for Verizon.
Okay.
And I am here tonight representing Verizon on their behalf.
Okay. Could you tell us about this relocate? Is it a placement of a new pole or relocation of a pole?
Placement of a new pole.
Okay. Could you just tell us a little bit about that, please?
Sure. On the petition plan, the pole being proposed basically is being proposed because there currently is a rear lot line in that area of Harvard Street, Pleasant Street, and Cleveland Street on the other side. Verizon would like to remove the cable on the northerly side of Harvard Street, thus creating what they call in our industry a dead end at Harvard Street on the south side. That pole's sole purpose would be to support that cable run or the utility run in the block of Harvard Street, Pleasant Street, Cleveland, and Yale on the south side.
Okay. And you notified the abutters.
Correct.
Was there any opposition recorded by any of the abutters?
Absolutely not.
Okay. All right. I'll just open up further the public hearing. If there's anybody here in opposition or who would like to speak in support of the application besides obviously the applicant. Not seeing anyone from the audience, I'll recognize members of the council. Councilor Bartley.
Yes. Are there many double poles in that area?
I do not know.
Because I noticed a lot of double poles, and I've contacted Verizon probably some in the neighborhood of 50 times. Now, At one point, they were responsive, and they would get back to me. They actually removed a lot of double poles. As you know, they're subject to state law to remove double poles. But I haven't heard back from Verizon in a year and a half. And now here's Verizon, actually not even Verizon, a contractor for Verizon, coming into Holyoke. Can you do a favor? Can you grant a permit to put in a double pole? I'm not in the mood to grant Verizon anything. So I'm going to vote no. No disrespect to you. But Verizon doesn't want to respond to me or comply with Massachusetts general law. So, and if you'll notice, the governor passed a municipal modernization, or submitted a municipal modernization bill. One of those tenets is to make it a local option to go after Verizon for non-compliance with state law in that regard. So hopefully that'll be adhered to by the legislature and passed into law. But no disrespect, but I'm going to vote no for this. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Anybody else like to be heard on this matter? All right, hearing none. Motion to close the public hearing, or we could continue the public hearing and table the matter.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to table. As you know, that's not debatable. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So-
Because it's a public hearing, we have to table it to a date certain.
Okay.
Next meeting.
Next meeting?
Next meeting.
All right. So we'll table it for 2 weeks. We can always
Well,
retake it up and
Point of
table.
order. Mr. President,
Yes.
I don't want to make that motion because the original motion came from Councilor McGee. So,
You amending your motion to table
Well-
it till for 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's to see if
okay.
Verizon will get back to
Okay.
Dave with
With
regards
some
to it.
further information. All
so
right.
then I'll,
So just so we're clear, the motion on the floor has been amended to table until our next meeting, which would be the 19th, same time, 7 o'clock. All right, without further ado, all in favor of that?
aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you, sir.
President,
Yes, Councilman McGivern?
if appropriate, could I ask that we take a vote on the rules and orders of the city council as were written and established last year to carry over for this year until any amendments?
Sure.
Second.
I appreciate that, but I do want to say, and I'm going to give the same thing that I said 2 years ago on this. After some review, I could find nothing in the rules, in Roberts, and anything that said that the rules do not automatically carry over. And I believe that was why we didn't take that vote 2 years ago. Just hear me out, and then I'll recognize you, Councilor McGivern. That there is, I could find no rule that says all the rules turn into a pumpkin for the beginning of the next term, and that we don't have any rules until we vote in the new rules. And so, based on that review, it kind of went into the best I could describe it as folklore, and that it wasn't really an actual thing that occurred. So we're always welcome to amend the rules. We're always welcome to change rules, but I couldn't find anything that says we need to reapprove all the rules in anywhere. So maybe, I don't know, maybe you found something that you can point to, but that was what my research came up with. Yes, sir. Councilman
Thank
McGivern.
you, Mr. President. This is real quick. No, I wouldn't call it folklore. I would call it tradition. But I think the one purpose that we didn't think of 2 years ago was, we do have 2 new members.
Sure.
2 years ago, we had more than 2 new members. And I think it's just a similar to taking the oath of office. They're being asked to join us in agreeing with the rules of this body, which are our own rules, which we abide by, I believe, in all cases.
Sure.
Unless suspended by 2/3 majority. So it's more out of respect for our 2 new members and to understand the importance to them and our constituents of what these rules are.
I agree, and to Counselor Sullivan and Roman's credit, I did give them each a copy of the rules, and they have been studying those vociferously, and I'm sure if I just spit it out, well, give me Rule 38, they could probably just quote it right out like gospel at this point.
The meetings will start at 7 a.m.
7 a.m.?
But if you want to stay with tradition, I'm happy to recognize your motion, but I just for good old times, I just so you know.
Your pleasure, Mr. President. I made the point.
All right, thank you. All right, very good. So, without further ado, we now move to item 2, which is, there's an item on the table, and I believe we have a motion from Councilor Valentin relative to a resolution on the TPP.
Motion to take item 2 off the table for discussion and an update, please.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to remove item 2 from the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay. And just so to refresh folks' memory, this is an order introduced by Councilor Lisi that the City Council consider adopting the following resolution in opposition to the federal Trans-Pacific Partnership trade deal. We had a brief update last time, and we now have a new update. Councilor Valentin, if you could share that with us.
Thank you. So on December 21st, which was after the last city council meeting, we received an update from the clerk's office, which was some draft language regarding this. And so at this point, that was the primary information that we had available. Tonight, right before the meeting started, out in the hallway, was Fiore Garcetti from AFL-CIO. He shared with President Jourdain and I, as we were discussing with him in the hallway, that he wanted some additional information to be distributed to us so that we could have more material to revise in preparation for our vote. And so even though the original idea for tonight was to go ahead and ask for an adoption of this as a resolution, we're going to go ahead and wait for some additional information from Mr. Garcetti.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Bacon?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we refer this to DGNR so the committee can review and make a recommendation to the full body.
Okay, that's been seconded. Under discussion, any? Okay, sorry, Council President. Oh, you're just fixing your hair, okay. Okay, without further ado, there's a motion on the floor to refer it to committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries, referred to DGNR. Public comment. Did we have anyone sign up for public comment? No one signed for public comment?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
it's right here.
Oh, welcome, Mr. Sanchez. Oh, that's why. Clipboard's all the way over there. We couldn't read it. Welcome.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Juan Sanchez, 203 Pine Street. I'm here to speak on behalf, in favor of two orders that are on the agenda today. One of them is order number 18, presented by Council President Jourdain and Councilor Roman, regarding proposing that the mayor present a balanced budget by spring 2015 for the fiscal year beforehand. The reason I'm in favor of this, I'm going to ask the councilors to join me in being in favor of this. It's for a few reasons, but one of the biggest ones for me is, the brownouts is a big thing for me. I think about my family, and my grandmother went through a fire many, many years ago in which we lost all our pictures and everything, and we lost all those memories, and how many people still live with those memories of those fires that used to happen many, many years ago. And the idea of fire trucks being put aside or any public safety being put on hold as a result of our budget not being balanced is a real problem for me. Also, there's the idea, which I'm going to go into a little bit, about tax incentives and places that get tax incentives and how that contributes to a budget deficit too, right? So places that aren't creating employment opportunities, for example, getting tax credits, makes no sense to me because they aren't creating opportunities for anyone. And by them not paying taxes, they're no longer contributing into our budget, right? So now you're asking businesses that do pay full into taxes to pay their fair share, while other businesses don't have to pay anything and aren't really contributing to the city in a way economically, which I mean is job development or really any economic spur that's really going on with a lot of these developments happening that are getting tax incentives or tax breaks from the city. So that's why I'd ask, in favor of that one. And the other one that I wanted to speak was on Order 30 by Councilor Roman regarding making South Holyoke a Puerto Rican cultural center. My grandmother came here. Once again, I'll go back to my grandma. She came here in 1964 when she moved here. She was one of two families living in the flats in Holyoke. She was a school teacher at Metcalf for many years before retiring in the mid-'80s. She taught under Mrs. Egan. I'm sure we know Mrs. Egan in the Holyoke public school system. And I think about, what my grandmother contributed. My grandfather worked on the tobacco fields for a long time. I know several other people's families who worked on tobacco fields and in the mills when they were open, years ago now. But I think about the contribution that the Puerto Rican community has made to the city. And I also think about the opportunity that is opened up by passing such an order, right? By passing something like making South Holyoke a Puerto Rican cultural center, you're now opening it up also to grants that are, available by our federal and state government to create different kinds of economic development, something that I would call culturally relevant, culturally competent economic development, right? We're allowing the city to have the opportunity to tap into money to build things that would actually benefit the community that it surrounds, as opposed to just building things to say, oh, look, this is nice, it's here, come here. But now we're actually building things that are relevant to that community, and that would only be open if, the area was labeled as a Puerto Rican cultural center. So I ask that the city council pass that order as well.
Great.
And yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you, Juan, we appreciate that. Okay. Great, so that takes care of that. All right, next up is communications, and we are at item 3, which is our appointments for 2016. It looks like we're going to have 4 different appointments before us for this evening's consideration, beginning with administrative assistant to the city council. And motions to go to the first ballot would be in order.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to go to the first ballot for administrative assistant to the city council. The current incumbent is the gentleman to my right, Ryan Allen of 84 Meadowbrook Road, Holyoke. This is a one-year appointment, which would expire in January of 2017. Okay, we're under first ballot, under discussion, any?
No, I just want to make a nomination if I could.
No nominations
Oh,
necessary.
we're just going to go through
Yeah,
it?
you
Okay.
just state,
Oh,
you'll just state
I'll
them.
make a comment.
Okay, under discussion, Counselor
I'm
Bartley.
going to support Ryan Allen. I urge you to do the same. I just want to compliment Ryan on really going above and beyond the call of duty for me on several occasions, including, running things up to Ward 3 and getting certain things signed and all that. He's been a real asset. I did also want to note that Ryan's basically a one-man band, whereas, Springfield, there's 3 to 4 in there. Chicopee, believe it or not, there's 2 in the city council office, 2 full-time employees, I might add. Westfield also has 2 full-time employees. So it's, it's a hard job.
And they all get paid more than we do.
I didn't get into that, so I don't know that to be true or not. So that's for our
wanted to pass that
intrepid
along.
president. But I think Ryan's just done a great job, and he has my full confidence, and I will support him. Thank you.
Counselor Graney.
I'm in full support of Ryan Allen. Anything I've asked the gentleman for, he's delivered, and he's delivered in a timely fashion, so he has my support.
Okay. Any other comments? Counselor Roman?
I too rise in motion of supporting Ryan Allen. I just have to say, as one of the newer members of the council, first of all, thank you to all my colleagues for making this onboarding process smooth and easy, and thank you, Council President. But also, I had the opportunity to meet with Ryan, and as you can all see, based on the amount of orders that I've emailed you all, Ryan has been helpful and diligent in getting me information back and truly helping me in that onboarding process, and took the time out to meet with me for about 2 hours to discuss his positions, ways we can help, and helping me also in the onboarding process. So I also rise in favor of his renomination.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, without further ado, just to remind people how we do this, the clerk is going to call the roll call. It is going to be alphabetical, and you're going to state the name of your candidate. Okay? Thank you very much. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Bartley,
Ryan Allen.
Bresnahan,
Ryan Allen.
Shatnoff,
Ryan Allen.
Graney,
Ryan Allen.
Jourdain,
Ryan Allen.
Leahy,
Mr. Ryan Allen.
LeBron Martinez,
Ryan Allen.
Lisi, McGee,
Ryan Allen.
McGivern,
Ryan Allen.
Roman,
Ryan Allen.
Sullivan,
Ryan Allen.
Tallman,
Ryan Allen.
Bacon,
Ryan Allen.
Valentine.
Ryan Allen.
Ryan Allen, unanimous vote.
Okay, by your election, congratulations, Ryan Allen. You've been reappointed for a one-year term as our administrative assistant to the city council. The next position up is the position of assessor. The current incumbent is Deborah Brunell of 131 Vermont Street. This is for a 3-year term as assessor. This term will expire in February of 2019.
Motion move to first ballot.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to move to the first ballot. Under discussion, Counselor Leahy.
I just want to kind of piggyback on what Councilor Bartley had said about Ryan Allen to this person as well. She's gone above and beyond her job duties. She's gone and gotten more certifications that she needed to. She does a wonderful job in there. It's not an easy job. It's not it's a very hard job. We have a lot of property, and she has to be concerned with. So I'm supporting her, and I encourage you guys to. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Counselor
Yeah,
Bartley.
I want to comment on Debbie's great work for the city. There was a little bit of controversy the last few years in that office, but that office has righted itself. I think Tony's doing a great job. Debbie has really asserted herself in that role, done a great job, and with the third assessor, I guess we need to comply with state law. So it's vital we get the third assessor in there. But I know that they'll work well with Tony and Debbie, and I urge my colleagues to support her. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Counselor Tallman?
Yeah, I just want to state, too, I'm also very much in support of Deborah Burnell. She's always been there for questions, anything we've had difficult problems with, and with assessments or any house values, and especially during our tax classification meeting, put together a great packet to get us the information that we need to make, important decisions that face our city. So very much in support of her getting this job.
Anyone else? All right, without further ado, the clerk will call the roll, please.
Bartley,
Debbie Burnell?
Bresnahan,
Deb Burnell.
Shatnoff,
Deborah Burnell.
Graney,
Deborah Burnell.
Jordan,
Deborah Brunel.
Leahy,
Mrs. Brunel?
LeBron Martinez,
Deborah Burnell.
McGee,
Deborah Burnell.
McGivern,
Deborah Burnell?
Roman,
Deborah Burnell.
Sullivan,
Deborah Burnell.
Tallman,
Deborah Burnell.
Bacon,
Deborah Brunel?
Valentine.
Deborah Burnell.
Deborah Brunel, unanimous vote.
By your vote, you've elected Deborah Brunel to another 3-year term. Congratulations, Deb. Best of luck to you. Okay, next position up is that of Water Commissioner. The Water Commission, as you know, oversees the Holyoke Water Works, and there are 3 commissioners. We vote for one of them each on a rotational basis. This year up is for seeking a 3-year term for reappointment is Mark Nadorf. Mark resides at 2 Arlington Street in Holyoke. His term, if reappointed, would expire in January of 2019.
Motion to go to the first ballot.
Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded to go to the first ballot. Any discussion? Counselor Bartley.
Again, I'm going to support Mark in this. I have regular ward meetings, and Mark, under no obligation, but he came up and he spent 2 hours with us, and it was just, 2 hours talking about water. Well, it was actually pretty enthralling, I have to say, the way he presented it. And finally, I had to hammer the gavel, and that was it. And so we could go home and have supper. But he's so knowledgeable, as are Franny and Mr. Barrett on this. I know we go through this annually, and there's some talk other time about other applications and all the rest of that, and it's fine. If other people want to apply, great, go ahead and do it. But these 3 guys are just have combined, they've been there at least with 60-plus years of experience between the 3 of them, and I think that they're so committed to the department and by extension to the city of Holyoke. I think they deserve our support. Thank you.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes, I also would like to speak in behalf of Mr. Nadorf as well. Mr. Nadorf eats, sleeps, and breathes the water department. Anytime you see him anywhere, all he wants to do is talk to you about filtration or pipes or this or that. And, I enjoy talking about it, but he likes to talk about it for a long period of time. And I think that's a great thing. They run a very tight ship down there. If you ask the average person at Stop and Shop how many employees the water department has, since we own 5 reservoirs, you'd probably say 200 employees. There's less than 50 employees in the water department. This is a very tightly managed ship, and he's one of the cogs in the wheel, so I'm supporting him. Thank you.
Counselor Graney.
Our water department does exemplary work, and it's a direct result of the commissioners. Mark Nadorf does a fine job, so I support him.
Any other comments? Okay. Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Bartley,
Mark Nadorf.
Bresnahan,
Mark Nadorf.
Shatnoff, Graney,
Mark Nadorf.
Jordan,
Mark Nadorf.
Leahy,
Mr. Mark Nadorf.
LeBron Martinez,
Mark Nadorf.
McGee,
Mark Nadorf.
McGivern,
Mark Nadorf?
Roman,
Mark Nadorf.
Sullivan,
Mark Nadorf.
Tallman,
Mark Nadorf.
Bacon,
Mark Nadorf?
Valentine.
Mark Nadorf.
Mark Nadorf, unanimous vote.
By your vote, you have elected Mark Nadorf to another 3-year term on the Holyoke Water Commission. The last appointment that we'll be voting on for this evening is to be the Whiting Street Fund Commissioner. The Whiting Street Fund, as you may or may not know, is a commission that was established from an endowment many, many years ago to help those who are down on their luck, if you will. And so we have a commission, and we have a number of appointments that are on this commission. This year's up is seeking reappointment to us is Maria Burks. Maria lives at 290 Cabot Street. She is seeking reappointment to another three-year term. If reappointed, this term would expire on January 2019. Any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Bartley?
Maria Burks?
Bresnahan?
Maria Burks.
Shatnoff?
Maria Burks.
Graney?
Maria Burks.
Jordan?
Maria Burks.
Leahy?
Mrs. Maria Burke.
Alberto Martinez?
Maria Burks.
McGee?
Maria Burke.
McGivern?
Maria Burks.
Roman?
Maria Burke.
Sullivan?
Maria Burke.
Tallman?
Maria Burke.
Bacon?
Maria Burks.
Valentine?
Maria Burke.
Maria Burke, unanimous vote.
By your vote, you have reappointed Maria Burke to another three-year term on the Whiting Street Fund. All right, we having gotten our appointments out of the way, we now have some from the mayor. And the first one up is communication item number 4. Subject to your approval, I hereby reappoint the following individual to serve as the Emergency Management Director for the City of Holyoke: Fire Chief John Pond, and then listed there is his High Street address as Fire Chief, but John is a Holyoke resident, I
Yeah,
believe. he
Deer
lives
Run.
on
Make a
Deer
motion
Run.
to reappoint.
Okay. This will be a one-year term. Said term will expire in January of 2017. Motion has been made to suspend our rules and to confirm the appointment as presented by the mayor. Under discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 5. Item number 5 is an appointment seeking reappointment of Alexandra Puffer of 227 Madison Avenue to serve as a member of the Historic Commission. Subject to your approval, I hereby reappoint Alexandra Puffer. Ms. Puffer would serve a 3-year term. Said term would expire February the 1st, 2019. Sincerely, Alex Morse, Mayor.
Make
Make
a
a
motion to
motion,
reappoint.
suspend the rules and make a motion to reappoint.
Second.
Yep, motion's been made and seconded to
just did that.
suspend our rules and to confirm the appointment of the mayor of Miss Alexandra Puffer to be a member of the Historic Commission. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 6. Item number 6 is the communication from our city clerk as well as our administrative assistant. It's the minutes of our December 15th meeting. Motion to approve or accept and approve would be in order.
Motion to receive and approve.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive and approve. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. Item number 7. Item number 7 is a communication from the acting city auditor, Mr. Schmidt. These are the monthly budget reports for the general fund and wastewater treatment plant as of October 30th and November 30th, 2015.
Make a motion to receive and send a copy to finance.
Motion's been made and
Second.
seconded to receive and refer to the Finance Committee. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Motion to suspend the rules and take items 8 through 11 as a
Second.
package.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive and accept items number 8, 9, 10, and 11. These are minutes of the Park and Rec Commission of October 7th, the Board of Health minutes of November 12th, the HEDIC minutes of September 30th, and the Fairfield Avenue Local Historic District Commission minutes of July 8th, September 9th, and October 14th. Motion on the floor is to suspend the rules, take them all up as a package, and to receive all of them. Under discussion, Councilor Leahy.
Just very quickly, I'm glancing, and I don't see the retirement board.
Still missing.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Bartley.
Thank you. I didn't, well, and I appreciate Councilor Lee bringing that up because I'm sick of bringing it up myself. I haven't received the HEDIC minutes. I didn't get the HEDIC minutes, so I was just wondering if, and I know they're very, very diligent about them, but I didn't get an email.
Should we send you a copy of those?
I always get emails, Joe. I don't get anything mailed to me, any packets. I generally get emails. I didn't get an email for HEDIC. So I just wondering if some.
I'll ask Ryan to send you a
Thank you.
email with a copy of the HEDIC minutes.
That's all I need.
Okay? Anyone, Counselor Graney?
Yeah, just a quick comment, Mr. President, on number 11, the Fairfield Ave Local Historic District Commission. Reading those minutes, it was very comforting to see that a lot of those properties on Fairfield Avenue that have been run down are going under construction now, and the repairs are being made, so I congratulate Mrs. Mausel and her staff for that.
Wonderful. Anything else on these? Okay. All in favor of receiving? Aye. Opposed? So moved with a copy to 10 to Counselor Bartley. All right, under petitions, item number 12 is a petition of Bell Atlantic Mobile of Massachusetts Corporation Limited, doing business as Verizon Wireless, for an amendment to existing special permit to allow new antennas and the removal of associated screening as required at 485 South Street. Motion to receive, refer to committee, I assume?
DGNR?
Where the ordinance?
Permit?
Ordinance or DGNR?
Ordinance, is it?
Special permit is DGNR, correct?
It is.
DGNR. Motion on the floor is to receive, refer to DGNR.
Can't wait to take this one up.
Under discussion, Counselor
Good luck with
Bartley.
that. No,
485
all good.
South, that's near and dear to your heart.
Oh, I tell you, only 87 votes came out of there.
All right. Any other discussion on item 12? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Mr. President, can we suspend the rules and take something out of finance?
Sure.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to remove from committee an agenda item marked formally as agenda item 34 from our December 15th city council meeting that was referred to finance. It is a financial transfer in the amount of $14,300 to use general fund free cash dollars to pay $9,000 for election workers, $800 for overtime, $3,000 for print binding and microfilm, $1,500 for other services marked truck rental. I'm told that this also involved the programming of memory cards for the election computers. Motion on the floor is to remove this from the Finance Committee for our consideration now. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Now before the body, I turn it over to Counselor McGee for a motion.
Make a motion to receive, adopt, and pass the first reading?
Motion's been made and seconded to receive this financial transfer to pass its first reading. Under discussion, Counselor McGee.
Yes, since there's no committees established yet and we have a March election coming up, this is the money needed in order to pay for that March election. Also, there's an outstanding bill from the prior election and stuff that we need for this election. So the breakdown is there. It's $14,300, $9,000 for the election workers, the overtime, as well as a truck and for all the other stuff that goes with an election. So looking at the time frame, the longer we wait, we won't be able to take this up. So tonight is the best time to try and get it done so that we can deal with the March election.
Under the rule suspension, quick, two questions. One, this is for the prospective election, not to pay past bills. And is this eligible for state reimbursement, this special presidential election? A lot of them are.
Yeah, it is. It will go back, the money will go back to the general fund.
Correct.
Good. Okay, great.
We just haven't heard
I
back
want to thank
from
our
the
state auditor for coming up with that one. That was under the unfunded mandates law. We now get reimbursed for all these special elections. So that was one coup for the local communities. Thank you, state auditor. Former, correct. Any questions, discussion, anything on first reading here? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
Make a motion to pass the second reading?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to pass the second reading. Any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll. A yes vote is in favor of adopting the financial transfer, a no vote is to deny it.
Shatna?
Yes.
Graney?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Leahy?
Yes.
LeBron Martinez?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
McGivern?
Yes.
Roman?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Tallman?
Yes.
Bacon?
Yes.
Valentine?
Yes.
Bartley?
Yes.
Bresnahan?
Yep.
Unanimous vote.
By your vote, you have approved the transfer for the city clerk's office. There's a typo on the agenda here. It doesn't say President's Report.
No typo. That's the new order. That's
voted
the
on.
rule.
There's a typo here, but the good
Open
news
meeting
is,
law
I
requires
was
a
gonna-
vote,
yeah.
Mr. President.
Open meeting law, it's not there, we can't have it.
good news is you got an earful from me yesterday, so no President's Report today. So we're going to just keep moving right along here. I know.
Break address.
I know. You're disappointed, but we'll somehow carry on. Item number 13 from Counselor Vacan. That no parking after dark signs be added to parking areas near the reservoir so that towing can be enforced. An increasing number of parked cars have been noted at these areas after dark. Ordinance?
Receive and refer to ordinance, please.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to receive, refer to ordinance. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 14 is introduced by Counselor Vacan.
Mr.
Ordered.
President, if I may?
Sure.
Just delete the allow in the third line. It's an editing error.
Okay. All right. I'll make that note on, okay. Item number 14, introduced by Counselor Vacan, ordered that the mayor and city council petition the general court to enact legislation to allow the issuance of an additional off-premises alcohol license to Sanjay Patel at his retail establishment known as Twin Stop on 635 Homestead Avenue. It is requested that our law department provide the language for this petition with suggested options in legal form. Motion.
Motion that we receive and refer to DGNR.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive, refer to DGNR. Under discussion, Counselor Vacan.
I just wanted to clarify because this hasn't come before us in the past and there was a little bit of confusion. But the reason that I filed this order in this manner is that we are at the maximum of licenses of this type. However, Kara did assist in doing some research and let me know that it is not unusual for communities when a business is seeking to expand their retail in such a manner as this for the council to petition in this way.
So he's seeking a second license at the same
No,
location?
he's a retail market and he wants to add this as a component of his sales.
Okay. All right, I'm sure we'll learn more about it in committee. Counselor Graney?
Yeah, just a question, there's a liquor store on in the mall right there, isn't there? Yeah.
Right, there's-
202
and there's-
Liquors?
Across the street.
Across the street, he's on the other side of the street,
Right.
next to the pizza place.
Oh, Dino's.
This is this is the convenience store next to Dino's.
Right, yeah, I know where it is, I'm just,
Correct. There's also a pizza place across the street. I mean, yeah, it's the way of the world.
Yes,
Competition.
competition, the American way.
Good.
Okay, Counselor McGivern, did you want to say something?
The request is for a package store license?
It's for a off-premises alcohol license to be able to sell beer and wine, is my understanding of what the nature of that license is.
Off-premise would be for like a caterer.
That is not the way the legal definition was explained to me. When I first heard it, my understanding or my sort of interpretation of it was that, but when I clarified it with Kara, she let me know that that is the legal language used at the state level for what this person is seeking, which is to sell beer and wine at the Twin Stop.
Would he also be allowed to sell it outdoors with this type of a license?
Not to my knowledge.
Find out committee.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll have to, law department will have to debrief us completely on this. Counselor McGivern?
I would ask for a full opinion from the law department on this, and that our state legislatures be present and members of the license board. We're opening up Pandora's box if we're going to compete with the number of package store licenses within the city by allowing a convenience store to sell beer and wine. You got Stop and Shop, you have probably, close to 100 convenience stores in the city. And if we're going to do it for one, the argument's going to be, why aren't we going to do it for others? And I'd just like to know more about this before we even, I would assume we have to hold a public hearing, but I'd like to know a lot more about this.
I don't know if we even have to. It's new. I've never voted on one of these, so I think we're gonna have to find out exactly what the rules are on this. Counselor Vacan?
If I may just add a little further information, there was correspondence that took place between the owner, the owner and the state rep's office and our legal, and they're the ones that informed me that they would be supportive of his petition if I filed the order.
Well, then, come on down, as they say on The Price is Right. You know, I mean, we'll have to have them all here and see what they have to say, you know, Counselor Bartley.
So I just want to offer a friendly amendment to follow up what Counselor McGivern just said, to amend the referral to get a copy to legal and have legal get us an opinion. Now, I don't know if we can get the whole license board to come to a hearing. I don't know if we need that, but it'd be nice to.
Do they always go to their own?
No comment, but we can at least get, perhaps an opinion from the law department on this matter, possibly have somebody from the law department attend a future hearing, and we can coordinate it for this particular issue. Thank you.
Okay, Counselor Green?
I happen to agree with Councilor McGivern on this. Now you've got Dino's, which is a beer wine license, and you have the liquor store across the street. Now you've got 3 liquor stores a stone's throw away from each other. I'm concerned about that.
Counselor McGivern?
I might have overestimated the need for the entire license board. I think Councilor Bartley's correct, but it's a residential neighborhood, and we need to file, if we don't have guidelines about having a public hearing or doing this or how we do this, I think we should follow their guidelines. And to take it a step further, I think every package store, off-premise license holder within the city of Holyoke should be notified of this meeting and asked to be present.
So I would put a lot in the hands of the chairman to make sure that, one, the committee is effectively debriefed, that the law department prepare a legal opinion as to our authority in this area and what precisely is the rules. Also the notification rules, you know, particularly, is this a public hearing? You know, was this, we have not seen this before, so at least not to my recollection.
So we're, Mr. Point of order, so I made a motion to that effect. I don't think I got a second on it, so I just want to make sure the order is amended to.
Okay, just give me the precise of that
Well, so
language.
it's what you just said.
Okay, all right,
So,
all right. Very good. We'll go over that before we send it to committee. Counselor Bacon.
I just wanted to remind the council that I did ask in this order for the legal department to provide language for the petition. This has gone from the state rep's office to me. I spoke with the licensing board.
I know you did.
They said if the license is available, then they would consider it, but there's nothing for them to consider because all the licenses have been renewed at this time. So that's their position on the matter at this time.
Exactly, and in
So,
defense of you, Counselor
FYI.
Bacon, I just want to say, I happen to be CC'd on all these emails. You've had a ton of emails going back and forth. You've been asked to do the star and the moons on this whole thing. And I will also further point out that the License Commission was not going to entertain this, and I think this is why it's now coming to us, because they're seeking for us to get some sort of state legislative approval to make an exception for this individual and to grant them an above and beyond.
Right.
So this is why it's coming to us as opposed to, you know, as I understand it.
Right, and just to be clear, I had initially informed the owner that the city council has nothing to do with liquor licenses, that it goes through the license board or the state, and that we're not involved in it. And then I was subsequently informed otherwise once I've explained some of those details. But it was a bit of a research project. Thank
And
you.
on to committee it goes.
Yes. Okay, very good. The motion on the floor is to receive, refer to the DGNR committee. There is an amendment to, one, strike that word allowed before Sanjay Patel. Second is that for the law department to provide the city council with a legal opinion
Which I'll second.
on this topic.
That was my intent, really.
as well as public hearing, Mr. President.
Opinion on this topic, including the rules of procedure that the city council must follow on this, you know, relative to a public hearing requirement and notification of abutters, all of this type of notice. We would like to have them articulate for us. Anything else? Did I capture it? Okay. right, very good. All in favor of referring this to committee as amended?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 15. Item 15 comes to us from Councilors Bartley and Leahy that the City Council issue a proclamation to Holyoke native and 30-year Wyckoff Country Club head professional Tony Kelly and congratulate him on his induction to the Connecticut Section PGA Hall of Fame.
Motion receive, adopt, and send a copy to the intrepid Patty Devine.
Okay, motion's been made and second for the City Council to receive this request for a proclamation, to adopt it, and to send it over to Patty Devine to make it up so that we can do a presentation. Under discussion, Councilor Barley, would you like to say a few words?
We all know Tony. Tony will be back in the area in a few months, and then we'll have him in to have a nice ceremony. Thank you.
Councilor McGee?
I just want to say, can I be added on? Oh my God, it's catchy in this chair.
Yeah.
Comes with a stamp right in the desk.
Wow.
For one, and you beat the record.
No, that's not even possible.
It's not possible.
We're gonna get you one of those Staples easy button, and you can just press it when you want to get added.
Add me on. Just say co-sponsor. Anybody else for thoughts? Okay, very good. All in favor of adopting this proclamation? Aye. Opposed? So moved. Item number 16 is introduced by Councilors Bartley and Roman, that the city engineer and DPW paint a stop line on the southbound lane where Main Street intersects with Riverdale Road sufficiently far back from the red light to help make this intersection safer. Also, that the DPW should install a stop here sign to alert motorists on where they should wait when the light is
Motion
red.
receive and must receive, adopt, and refer to DPW.
Okay. There already is a stop line there, and is it changing the configurations of the
No,
stop? or
no,
anything like
there's
that?
no stop line there. It's gone.
Okay, all right.
So,
Motion on the
Just
floor is
changing.
to receive, adopt, and refer to the DPW. Under discussion,
just
a
it's
pretty
just a-
straightforward
Yeah,
safety
pretty
matter.
straightforward, but I'm glad Councilor Roman's award to Councilor agreed to sign on to this. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Without further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 17 is introduced by Councilor Bartley, that the Honorable Don Humison and the Honorable Aaron Vega be invited to an upcoming meeting of the DGNR Committee. This order will help the City Council comply with its Rule 32.
Receive, adopt, and refer to DGR.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive and to refer to the DGNR Committee to have them in for our state update. Under discussion,
So
Councilor Bartley.
we haven't really announced the committee yet, but it's going to be 5 people in this room. We know that. So we might as well just know that the next Wednesday that there's at 6 o'clock. Is it 6:30, Ryan? Next Wednesday, 6:30. 6:30. I'm sorry. Yeah, next
He's like your
Wednesday. Sorry,
personal
thank you, Ryan.
assistant, huh, Dave?
What's that?
Your personal assistant?
Oh, hell no, hell no, no.
I guess there's been one announcement in this room about DGR.
Congratulations, Dave.
What can we say? What can we say? I get paid a lot of money for that. So, next Wednesday at 6:30, and then the state delegation will be in. They've already agreed to come in February 1st at 6 p.m.
Councilor Graney.
Just quickly to refresh the people at home, what's Rule 32B or 32A?
For
State
yeah,
update.
it's a rule, Howie, that the state delegation come in to present to this body on a regular basis.
And you said February 1st?
Yes, Mr. President. So next Wednesday, the 13th, we'll have a public hearing relative to the cell tower out in Smith's Ferry. And then February 1st, we'll have Humison and Vega here for their annual checkup.
All right, any other discussion on this? If not, all in favor of referring to DGNR? Aye. Opposed? So moved. Item number 18, introduced by Councilors Jordan and Roman, that an ordinance be created requiring the mayor to submit a balanced budget for the subsequent fiscal year to the city council by April 30th of each year. The mayor's budget proposal for expenses may not exceed the projected revenues for the subsequent fiscal year. The mayor may not use uncertified free cash dollars or unapproved withdrawals from the stabilization fund in his revenue estimate to provide a balanced budget for the subsequent fiscal year. I'm requesting this go to ordinance.
Mr. President?
Could I be
may
added to that,
join the
Mr. President?
co-sponsor club, please?
Sure.
Maybe add it to
Adding Councilors Graney and Vacan. Councilor McGivern?
Just a friendly amendment, Mr. President, that a copy go to the law department. I know state statutes dictate a lot of financial laws and regulations that we have to abide by, that the law department will look into whatever proper wording or procedure could take
Absolutely.
place.
Yeah, and that was my intention, that we'd certainly ask for a legal ruling as to, I know we can't be less restrictive than state law, but we are allowed to be somewhat more restrictive. So certainly I'll be asking the law department, Kara, if you could just take that as a request now, once we send this on here, but happy to amend to ask for the law department for guidance on this order.
Do you want a second on that?
Yep.
Second.
Second. All in favor of that amendment?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Any other discussion on this or anything else? Okay. Without further ado, all in favor of ordinance?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Thank you for that. All right, item number 19. Item number 19 is an order introduced by Councilor Jordan that sidewalks on the even side of the dead-end section of Norwood Terrace be replaced as soon as possible. I would request that we receive, adopt, and refer this to the DPW.
So moved.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive this, to adopt, and refer to the DPW.
I'd like to add my name to that. I've received calls from several residents of that area.
Thank you, Councilor Graney. Adding Councilor Graney as a co-sponsor. Okay, Councilor Tallman,
Do you mind if I add my name onto that too?
happily. Adding
Take care of my fellow brother carriers that have to
Yes.
walk on that sidewalk every day.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that. Any other discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved, adopted and off to DPW. Put my agenda over. Item 20, thank you. Ordered that introduced by Councilor Jordan, ordered that an ordinance be created which states that licenses in land or other real property of the city may not be issued until 2/3 of the city council has approved. I'd request that this go to ordinance.
Second.
Okay, just briefly under discussion, as you recall, Geriatric Authority currently has the sheriff's office in there under a license, not a lease. As you know, leases need to be approved by us. We've just recently found out, less than a year ago, that there's the first time I've seen an issuance of a license to now use real property that did not get approved by the city council, so I would like to make sure that no city buildings, property, all of these other things are being granted out without approval of the city council per our normal procedures. So, without further, Councilor Bartley,
And I'd like to sign on to that, if I may, Mr. President.
absolutely.
Just under discussion.
Under discussion, Councilor Bartley.
It's just not a good deal. And so, it hasn't been a good deal from day one. It's not a winner for the city. That's why we shot down that lease that the mayor wanted for Lynch School, when he's gonna lease it out to Paula Freire School of Justice. We're not opposed to charter schools. We're opposed to loser leases that cost the city money. That's what that lease was all about. That was gonna hurt the city. So this current lease is not a winner for the city. And I don't think it's a winner for that neighborhood. Now, it might be, overall, we're a very open and welcoming community. We haven't been. It's not about the facility. It's about the terms of the lease and the placement of that facility. So I want to make that clear. We welcome all sorts of nonprofits and government agencies with open arms, as we always have. So that is not excluded from that comment, but the lease itself is not a winner. Thank you.
As you know, this also doesn't even get into the whole substance of these things being good or bad. The issue is that these things require a vote of the city council. That's the issue. And my concern is that had Lynch School been brought to us as a license and not a lease, that maybe it's in there right now. You know, what if they said City Hall is a license to somebody else? Councilor Graney.
Just to make a quick amendment as to what Councilor Bartley said, I am opposed to charter schools. I think they're a drain on the public school system, and there is no place in America for them. When our public school system fails, our country fails.
Counselor Bacon.
I'd like to be added to this order also. As you know, it was a big issue up in Ward 5 at the time that it went in, and it has come up occasionally since the program has been there. But I think it's more a matter of the deal itself and the transparency of the city business to the public, and particularly to the residents. I mean, if you think the package store proposal's in a residential neighborhood, this certainly is in a densely populated residential neighborhood. Thank you.
So, if there's no further discussion, all in favor of receiving, referring over to ordinance?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
Thanks, Stevie.
Item number 21 is introduced by Counselor Jordan. Happy to have you, Counselor Valentin, if you'd like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Absolutely.
Adding Counselor Valentin as a co-sponsor, this very nice Ward 4 resident, that a proclamation be given to Helen Rogers congratulating her on the occasion of her 100th birthday on February 9th, 2016. I'd request a motion to adopt and to
Second.
grant that.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Counselor Tallman?
If also you could add my name, I know Helen Rogers very well, and she was actually a classmate of my mother's, class of 34, Holyoke High
Oh, I
School.
thought you were
so-
about to say yours. Had me worried there for a minute. Adding Counselor Tallman.
Thank you.
Very nice. Counselor McGivern.
If I could add my name for a number of reasons, but
Sure.
as a former Ward 4 representative, she was one of my favorite constituents.
Excellent. Adding Counselor
Agreed.
McGivern.
They're also doing a nice party for her at Sycamore House, and
Oh,
apparently
nice.
something may even happen in Boston. So I've been invited to all of these, but very happy to co-sponsor this for Miss Rogers.
Is that where she lives?
Sycamore, yep.
Yep.
So when,
Yes,
we
Councilman
would do this at the February 16th meeting?
If she would come, we'd be thrilled. If she's not up to coming here, then, you know, if there's an event that they're doing for her, whenever.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I can follow up with her if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, please do. We'd love to have her down. Okay, great. So all in favor of adopting?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 22 is introduced by Councilors Jordan and McGee. Ordered that the city institute a hiring freeze for all departments until the city can better address the budget shortfalls and move forward with a plan as advised by bond counsel. Councilor McGee, do we want to have a discussion on this perhaps? And motion's been made and seconded to
Second.
receive, refer to finance. Under discussion now, you want to say anything? Okay.
Yeah, my name, Counselor?
Yeah, adding Counselor Bresnahan's name to this. Okay. Any other discussion now? Hearing none. All in favor of referring to finance?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 23 is introduced by Counselor McGee. That is that in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A, the City Council hereby accepts the provisions of the FY 2016 911 Support Grant and authorizes the establishment of a fund or other method appropriate for the accounting of the receipts and expenditures of all resources associated with the administration of that grant. Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive and refer to finance. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. Item number 24 is introduced by Councilor Roman. Ordered that the Honorable City Council, in accordance with Mass General Law 30B and the Holyoke Procurement Ordinance, vote to declare a property located on South Bridge Street surplus property available for disposition. On 12/4/1985, the property was awarded to the city via land court decree, with a judgment recorded in the Hampden County Registry of Deeds, Book 5968, page 418. Said property is described in the Holyoke Assessor's Records as Map 29, Block 7, Parcel 6, consisting of approximately .10 acres of vacant land, more or less, and is more particularly described in a deed recorded in the Hampden County Registry of Deeds, Book 3387, page 366. The property is zoned DR and was previously assessed at $15,200.
Receive and send to DGR.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive and refer to the DGNR committee. Any discussion?
Do we have a street address?
Do we have a street, do
Yes,
we have
we
a
do.
number on South Bridge?
Yes, we do, Mr. President. 1 second. The street address would be 538 South Bridge Street.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Friendly amendment to add the number 538 before South Bridge Street. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. So that will now reflect 538 South Bridge Street. Motion's on the floor to refer to the DGNR committee. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 25. Item 25 comes to us also from Councilor Roman. Ordered, whereas the order seeks to assist the successful reintegration of formerly incarcerated people into the community by removing barriers to gainful employment after their release from prison. More than 650,000 people are released from state and federal prisons each year, and hundreds of thousands more leave local jails. Formerly incarcerated people represent a group of job seekers ready to contribute and add to the workforce. Lack of employment is a significant cause of recidivism. People who are employed are significantly less likely to be rearrested. Obstacles to employment for people with criminal records and other barriers to reentry are creating permanent members of an underclass that threatens the health of the community and undermines public safety. Ordered that the City of Holyoke Personnel Department and its contractors review and make revisions to their current civil service processes and eliminate any barriers during an interview and application process that may preclude applicants with criminal records from gaining employment within the City of Holyoke and/or its contractors, giving exception to any employment having to deal with the elderly or youth. Motion to send to ordinance, presumably?
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay, motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second been made and seconded to receive, refer to ordinance. Under discussion?
Yes,
Councilor
Mr.
Roman?
President, thank you so much for this. Again, my fellow councilors, as you all know, dealing and walking and speaking with residents of the City of Holyoke, specifically in the Flats, South Holyoke, areas near and dear to my heart, with a plethora of different residents who have been formerly incarcerated. The number one thing out there is looking and seeking for jobs. There are 3 Massachusetts cities that currently have similar language, and I thank Kara and the Law Department for reviewing. We have Worcester, Mass, and Boston being the presumably 2 largest cities in the state that have this, and currently it is before the state legislature. As we know with the state legislature, things can stall. So again, with the City of Holyoke having a population of individuals who are seeking employment, I think that this sends the right message that the City of Holyoke allows for individuals to have a fair chance, and I look forward to discussing this in Ordinance Committee.
Okay. Any other discussion? Councilor McGivern?
I think, one, it's a good order. I just asked that, and I'll do it at the committee level, that the Personnel Department be informed about CareerPoint, who does a tremendous job of those who are seeking employment who have court involvement in criminal records, and they have a number of companies that they can connect with and act as a third party. I think most people know the motions to seal records are a lot different than they were 10 years ago for the sole purpose of trying to find jobs for those who have rehabilitated themselves and have come back into the general population. And thirdly, I'd just like to thank Councilor Roman. Now that Councilor Alexander is gone, I don't know what we're going to do without the whereas.
Clause, I know.
We're okay.
Yeah, I know. It just wouldn't have been the same without those.
Can I be added to can I be added to it?
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Yep. Adding Councilor LeBron Martinez as a co-sponsor. Okay. Motion on the floor is to receive and refer to ordinance. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 26. Item 26, whereas the current joint committee is an ad hoc committee created by the city council president in 2011, the need for this committee to become permanent is clearly evident. Current receivership of the city's public schools, as well as the need for continued and improved communication from the city council and school committee, ordered that the city council amend its rules to make the joint committee of the city council and school committee a permanent standing committee. I would recommend charter and rules.
Yes.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive and refer to the Charter and Rules Committee. Any discussion? Pretty straightforward, okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of referring to Charter and Rules?
Aye.
Mr. President, point of
I'm
order.
sorry, Counselor Graney.
And I'd like to go back to that last order if I possibly could,
The
just to
one
make
on
a
the,
comment.
on the employment one?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Motion was adopted for sending the item relative to the joint committee to Charter and Rules. Counselor Graney, you're asking for reconsideration of our vote?
Yeah, I just have a question.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to reconsider our vote to send the item number 25 to the ordinance committee. Is there a second? Second, motion's been made and seconded to reconsider our action on item number 25. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Counselor Greenie, you had a question.
Yeah, the second part of it ordered that the City of Holyoke Personnel Department and its contractor review and make revisions to their current civil service process. I don't know what that means, if,
I believe he's going to spell that all out in ordinance. This would all have to be put in some sort of ordinance that we would give direction, create an ordinance that says what we would want these departments to do, or to set rules for our city contracts.
in other words, to how to eliminate barriers from civil service.
I think we would have to spell that out. Otherwise, it's too vague, right?
All right.
Presumably, that's.
That's correct, Mr. President. No, that is correct.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll be getting into the juicy details of all of that in committee.
I hope so.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely, I'm sure. I'm sure she will. All right, motion on the floor is to send to ordinance?
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay, motion on the floor is to send to ordinance. Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item 25, back to ordinance. And that now brings us to item 27. Item 27, that the city of Holyoke create a four-way stop sign intersection at the corner of Elm Street and Franklin Street in Holyoke.
Receive and refer to ordinance?
Okay, yep. Motion's been made and seconded to receive and refer to ordinance. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President. Again,
Counselor
this,
Roman.
this was at a request, the residents in the Churchill area, I'm not sure if you guys know exactly where this intersection is. It's in the Churchill zone, exactly where the Boys and Girls Club sub-satellite location is. This flyby area is actually used as an in-between for cars and traffic individuals who don't want to stop at the stop sign right next to the CVS in Holyoke High School, or they don't want to go down High Street or Maple Street. So they zoom up this Churchill intersection, and I've seen kids playing out there, and I myself, while knocking on doors, have almost been hit twice. I think it's in dire need in this neighborhood, and it's actually a constituent request from a lot of the neighbors and residents.
Mr. President,
Counselor Leahy?
with the maker's approval, I'd like to put my name to that because I agree with that.
Okay. Adding Counselor Leahy as a co-sponsor. Okay. Anyone else? Any other discussion? Counselor McGivern?
I'm not sure if we can do it, but if Councilor Roman, with a friendly suggestion, the same problem exists on Franklin going the opposite at Chestnut Street. And it's just, Chestnut and Franklin, the stop signs are west-east on Chestnut and north-south on Franklin, but not north on Franklin for some reason. Anybody going to Our Lady Guadalupe to the big parking lot to CYO basketball takes a right, it's no big deal, but they don't have to stop.
Right.
People that are using it as a shortcut just zoom.
Refresh
I'm
my,
not sure, might need a separate order, I don't know.
refresh my memory. Counselor Roman.
An amendment.
Isn't Elm going that way one way?
I don't do late files.
Elm towards Jackson, isn't? All right, so technically it's gonna be a three-way stop. Yeah, but we can fix that in the committee. Yeah. Okay, great. Adding Counselor Leahy as a co-sponsor, all in favor of referring to ordinance?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 28, introduced by Counselor Roman. Whereas the new school superintendent, Dr. Stevens Reich, has been the receiver of the Holyoke Public Schools since July 6th. As of January 6, 2016, which is tomorrow, it would be 6 months since the receivership and the appointment of Dr. Reich as the superintendent of the Holyoke Public Schools. The committee hopes to hear from the superintendent about highlights, obstacles, areas in which the city council through the budgeting can assist the school department, specifically around capital improvement plans and projects, recent energy audits, recent state reports of abuse and neglect, and any other anticipated fiscal necessities or requests for the remainder of the fiscal year, that the receiver of the public schools, Stephen Reich, appear before the joint committee of the city council and school committee. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor of this, please.
With
That's
the
what
maker's
I-
permission, I'd like to be added to this too.
Sure, adding Counselor Graney as a co-sponsor,
Good order.
Counselor
Thank
Leahy,
you.
and Counselor Sullivan.
Yes.
And it should be noted, I already did speak to Mr. Reich about this, and he is happy to have us come in, and I was just kind of waiting for this committee to get formed, but he absolutely said, just give him some dates and they'll be up. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. President.
So he's more than willing to come, anticipating this order. Okay,
Receive and refer to the Joint Committee of the City Council and School Committee?
yep, motion's been made and seconded to receive and refer this order to the Joint Committee of the City Council and School Committee. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. All right, item number 29. Item number 29 comes to us also from Councilor Roman. Ordered that the City Council pass the attached resolution titled "The Humanitarian Matter of Oscar Lopez Rivera," and then there is a proposed resolution. And I believe that was in our packets.
Yes, it was, Mr. President, and it was emailed as well.
Okay. Is there a motion? You want to send it to
Motion
committee?
to actually receive and adopt, Mr. President. I believe the
Motion.
council has had ample time.
Motion to been made and seconded to receive and adopt. Okay. Is there, Counselor Leahy?
I just don't feel comfortable voting on this tonight because I don't know the background of this. I don't, quite frankly, know anything about this.
Do you want to send it to committee?
I think that would be a good spot for you to maybe come in and discuss it. So yeah, I make a motion that goes to committee.
I'll second.
Which committee?
Which
We could,
I would say
go to the maker of the
DGNR.
order.
we could send it to public safety would probably be best.
Or DGNR.
Well, I suppose indirectly it's related to a government relation.
Yeah.
I suppose you could say that. So DGNR or, so the motion on the floor is DGNR. Counselor Bartley
Yeah.
has a vast empire over there. Counselor Sullivan?
Just like to comment on this.
Oh, yeah, Counselor Sullivan.
Nothing against the resolution itself. I think matters of federal involvement, international politics, stuff like this are not the business of the Holyoke City Council. And even that referring it to committee, all the committees are backing up with a lot of stuff that this is not appropriate for the Holyoke City Council to be taking up.
Okay. Counselor Bacon?
Thank you, Mr. President. And in concert with Counselor Sullivan's comments, a number of years ago, we had a variety of resolutions coming before the city council. And at that time, it was the consensus of the council that we would not be making resolutions for matters that were outside of our arena. It was felt at that time, as best I can recall, that we have such a full agenda and we have very serious matters before us that we have to address, that to go outside of our jurisdiction was not useful.
Counselor Roman?
Through you, Mr. President, again, as with everyone, and I respect, thank you so much, Councilor Sullivan and Vacan. That might have been the case. I know that, in my time in the city of Holyoke, I've seen resolutions come through, whether it be a lot of resolutions or a few. But with a city with 48% Latinos, and out of that, 96% are Puerto Ricans, this comes from a huge population of the Puerto Rican community that would like to see the city of Holyoke. And I, again, I completely agree as far as the terms that, Councilor Vacan was just referring to with regards to us stepping out of our jurisdiction. But when the residents, and especially the Latino community, are requesting leadership from the city council, this again was petitioned by the constituents and the residents, multiple. And speaking about this, I would love to have that conversation in education and have individuals from the community come in to share their thoughts as well. So I am very agreeable to the friendly amendment. Thank you, Councilor Leahy, and whoever seconded, I didn't get that. But this is extremely important. I'll vote no on the amendment only because I want it to pass today, but I'm going to see it go to committee. I know it'll go to committee. But based on the residents of the city of Holyoke, and I'd like to mention that, with regards to other matters within the Latino community and resolutions, we're taking up one resolution to end TPP, and that's acceptable. But, with this resolution, I don't understand it. So I'm more available for anyone who'd like to know more information. I look forward to discussing it in committee. But this as well has come from constituents and residents who would like to see some action on this.
Mr. President?
Counselor Valentin?
Just to support some of the sentiment that Councilor Roman is also sharing, this is something that other communities have also been doing. On December 28th, we all received via email the wording for this resolution. It's a 2-page document. It's been there. It's been available in advance. I think if people had questions about what this was about, There's been plenty of time to discuss that, and I would be actually pretty disappointed if this just gets tossed out and it doesn't even get a chance in committee. I think that would be a strong negative message to the community that is coming forward to us as Latino councilors and to Gladys Lebron as well. This is something that, go home tonight and Google it. There's plenty of information on it, and there's plenty of communities that are doing this, and it like we say in Spanish, it doesn't cost us anything, and I think it's a strong supportive message to the Latino community and the message at large. Thank you.
Councilor Leahy?
No, forget it, I'm good.
Okay. So the current motion on the floor is, I have to recognize that second motion, which was to, I'm going to say, give a leave to withdraw, right? Do I capture the sentence? I know you're a newer counselor, so you don't know.
He didn't make a motion. I didn't hear a motion.
Okay, then that was just the sentiment then.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did not hear
Not
a
a motion. All right, so then the motion on under your point of order on that, the motion therefore is from Counselor Leahy, which is to refer it to the DGNR committee. I did hear a second on that. And so under discussion, any other discussion? Counselor Bartley?
We'll have a very good discussion of it in that committee, along with that TPP. I don't know what that is either. I did read the resolution. I read the resolution from Mr. Rivera.
Yep.
But I certainly, Mr. President, would like to have I have some questions about both of them.
Sure.
Particularly the former more than the latter. So, but we'll have questions in DGR, and that's when we can expand upon that at that point. So, sure. Thank you.
Okay. Any other thoughts before we vote? Counselor Bacon?
Just to be clear, my sentiments are the same on the TPP resolution, which is why I made the motion to send it to committee. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Without any other further discussion, motion on the floor is to refer to the DGNR committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
No.
Motion carries. Item 29 to DGNR. Item 30. Item 30 is introduced by Counselor Roman. Whereas the Puerto Rican community in the 1960s came from the island to the city of Holyoke, the contributions of Puerto Ricans to the city has been exponential. Today, the city of Holyoke has a Latino population of 48.4% of the population. 96% of those are from Puerto Rico. South Holyoke is the home to Roberto Clemente Street, Nueva Esperanza, Enlace de Familias, Nuestra Raíces, and the birthplace or host of most other Puerto Rican events and landmarks. Ordered that the city of Holyoke designate South Holyoke a Puerto Rican cultural area.
Receive and refer to ordinance, please, Mr. President.
Ordinance? No ordinance is required for this.
So just
This
receive
you
and
could
adopt?
just adopt.
Receive and adopt then, Mr.
to-
President?
Yep, unless we want to have committee discussion, but that would be a separate motion. Motion on the floor, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, motion on the floor has been made and seconded to designate South Holyoke as a Puerto Rican cultural area. Under discussion, Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, thank you. South Holyoke has had a lot of contributions from the Puerto Rican community, but it's also had a lot of contributions from the French, the Polish, many different communities. So I'm not sure if I was going to bring this up in committee. However, I'm not sure if an amendment should be made that that goes to the order that the city of Holyoke designate South Holyoke maybe a multicultural area. Juan, who spoke before us, did an excellent job in talking about maybe there's some sort of grants if you change it to a designated area. Maybe if you open it up to a multicultural area, including everyone, maybe that opens it up tenfold to grants. I don't know that. That's just a thought. Thank you.
Councilor LeBron Martinez.
Yes, I'm in favor of this order, but at the same time, I just want to share that, the Flats also was one of the first migrants, communities, in the particular the Latino community. So I don't know how we can work this out that it can contribute to expand, seeing that although it says South Holyoke, it's also part of the Flats as it's being developed. I'm concerned that we may lose out also the identity that it's been cultivated down in the area of the Flats. So,
Would you like it to go to committee to discuss that, or would you like to amend it to add something, or? Or it's just a point you want to make?
Just making a point. I mean, you know, if you're looking at the way that is designed, that area, for example, where Laza de Familia, where the Nuestra Raíces, that's Ward 1. So I'm just making sure that, you know, the wording doesn't just
Got it.
kind of make some.
Mr. President,
fill
I'll make a
out.
friendly amendment to include the flats as well, the flats in South Holyoke and Puerto Rican cultural areas.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome.
So designate the flats and South Holyoke.
Mr. President?
The Puerto Rican cultural area, Councilor
Yeah,
Grady.
I have a question. We dealt last year with the Polish Heritage District.
Yes.
I just would like to know, I don't know if legal could answer the question or who could answer whether or not the properties or any of those things, any ramifications for alterations or anything like that would happen because of this order. I don't know if it would, cultural district, heritage district, I don't know if there are ramifications that are involved there. Maybe Councilor Roman could answer that question, or maybe Kara.
Councilor Roman, but let me weigh in here real quick. Kara, I believe the other one was in ordinance form. A historic district embodies certain state laws, has very specific rules and regulations around it, whereas this is more symbolic in nature, where a cultural area distinction it doesn't trigger any legal implications for any of the properties or the residents that live in it. It's designed to recognize the heritage of those areas. Councilor
And through you, Mr. President, to answer Councilor Graney's question, yes, I reached out to Kara in the Law Department, and we had that very same discussion. Thank you, Councilor LeBron Martinez, for adding your amendment. This, again, from the constituents, and thank you, Councilor Lee, as well, from the constituents coming from that area, this is going in line with building off of the community down in the flats in South Holyoke, saying and identifying and just celebrating that fact of the fact that there is a large Puerto Rican community. They have contributed, and then this is not to change any zoning laws or to create a heritage district or actual districts that will affect zoning laws or changes that might and could potentially happen later down on the road in the future. But this begins that conversation, and it just acknowledges the community. It's ceremonial, but it allows that community to have a sense of pride. Thank you, Mr. President.
No. Anybody else want to be heard on this issue? Okay. All right. I did not hear any motions to send to committee, so therefore the current motion on the floor is to receive and adopt. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Adopted. Item 31. Item 31 is introduced by Councilor Roman, that a handicap sign be placed in front of 15 Prue Avenue for Noelia Vizacarando. I would say we should send a copy of this, I would recommend, to the Disabilities Commission and then send this over to ordinance.
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay. Okay, that has been moved. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Before we go to late files, since I didn't have a president's report, I did have one announcement. And I was cheated out of that. I know. Somehow you'll have to carry on for 2 weeks. But the Chamber of Commerce wanted to remind all of you that you're invited to the Winner's Circle to meet federal, state, and local officials at the Yankee Peddler on January 28th. That's at 5 o'clock at the Yankee Peddler. Again, January 28th for the Winner's Circle. Please do your best to see if you can make it up to that. And that is gratis, complimentary, as their guest. So just wanted to pass that on to you. Do we have any late files? Okay. Thank you, sir. Late file A. Late file A, our first late file of the new term, introduced by Councilors Bartley and LeBron Martinez, that a handicap sign be placed in front of 62 Elm Street for Gail Bergeron.
Handicap Commission and the Disabilities Commission, I'm sorry, and the Ordinance Committee.
Okay, motion on the floor is to receive, refer a copy to the Disabilities Commission, and sending this request over to the Ordinance Committee. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Late file B, introduced by Councilors Bartley and LeBron Martinez, that a handicap sign be removed from the front of 5658 Center Street. Ordinance?
Yes, please.
Okay, motion on the floor is to receive and refer to ordinance. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Late file C, introduced by Councilors Graney and Bresnahan, that the city council receive a copy of the exact language regarding the mayor's exclusive right to enter into any and all contracts for any and all situations. You're looking for the law department to provide that, Councilor Graney?
Yeah, Tara gave me a copy of that particular law.
Okay.
The city charter.
Do you feel that's complied with, or do you want to have this sent to a
I feel
committee
it's
for
complied
discussion?
with. I just had a question regarding several contracts that have been handed out in the city recently.
So you may be filing another order. This was to get the information, but if you want to take action.
Right. Well, I don't think that there's any action that can be taken. It's just that the mayor apparently has the right to grant contracts, and in particular, if I may, the towing contracts for the city have been handed out to a West Springfield firm and a South Hadley firm, neither of which pay taxes in the city of Holyoke, when there are people in the city of Holyoke who could engage in that particular activity. That's all.
All right. Well, obviously, if you wanted to make an ordinance in the future regarding regulating that, vis-à-vis like what we did with broker of record, you'd have to,
That's in committee.
you'd have to file.
That's in committee.
You'd have to file that in committee.
Already in committee.
Is it in committee?
Yes,
All right,
it is.
Then,
I filed that 3 years ago.
it's still an ordinance.
Sitting in ordinance.
Okay, well, then stay tuned then. All right, thank you. Would you request that this be given leave to withdraw then, since you, or complied with?
Yes.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to suspend the rules to take final action on this item. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Motion on the floor is that this order's been complied with. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Late file D, introduced by Councilor Leahy, that a handicap sign be placed in front of 65 Taylor Street for Fazul Sibdhani.
Make a motion that it goes to the Disability Commission and also the Ordinance Committee.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to receive, refer a copy to the Disabilities Commission, as well as refer this main order over to the Ordinance Committee.
Thank you.
All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Late file E. Late file E is an application for a renewal of a home occupation permit. This is coming to us from Gerardo Ramos of 275 Sargent Street. He is looking to, because of a flow of customer increase, to 5 per month, since somewhere. He, basically, the long and short of it is, he is seeking to have an amendment to one of the conditions of his permit. Mr. Ramos has had a home occupation permit for a long period of time. He's the gentleman that has the aquarium business on Sargent Street, and he's looking to just be allowed to have a small amendment to his conditions to allow a little bit more foot traffic to the home.
Motion receive, refer to the Committee on DGR to set up a public hearing to see if the neighbors are in agreement.
Very, very good. Motion on the floor is to receive and refer to the DGNR committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Late file F. Late file F is the minutes of the Board of Public Works for November the 2nd, 2015. Motion to receive would be appropriate.
Receive.
Motion's been
Second.
made and seconded to receive. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Late file G is the minutes of the Sewer Commission of November 2nd.
Motion received.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Ryan, if you can send copies of these 3 minute sets to the counselors by email, that would be, since they haven't had a chance to look at that. Nothing really extraordinary here, but minutes of the Stormwater Authority of November 2nd.
Motion received.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Late file I, introduced by Councilors Leahy, McGee, and McGivern, that the one-year appointment for City Council Administrative Assistant be changed to a two-year appointment. You'd have to send this to Charter and Rules since it's in the Charter.
So moved.
Okay?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive and refer to Charter and Rules. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Late file J, introduced by Councilors Roman, Graney, Tallman, I believe that's McGivern or McGee, Valentin, and somebody else. I don't know what that other name is.
LeBron Martinez.
Oh, is it? Okay, Gladys.
I'm sorry, I signed.
Okay, it was real quick. LeBron Martinez. The rules of the city council be amended that all city councilors are to be in chambers by 6:45 and that the city council meeting begin promptly at 7. Motion is to send to Charter and Rules?
Yes.
Okay. Motion's been made and
Friendly
seconded.
amendment
Friendly amendment?
to the financial penalty if they are not. I agree.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive, refer to Charter and Rules? Aye. Opposed? So moved. That's the end of our agenda, folks.
Motion adjourned.
Okay, motion to adjourn. That has been seconded. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Opposed?